I think it was Eala is the match that I was looking at, and there was people like wrapped around the stadium just trying to get in, which is pretty crazy. And I mean, it's cool to see and it's exciting, but obviously, for fan experience, I don't know because I'm not living that same experience, but hopefully the event kind of continues.
She came out swinging right off the court without holding anything back directly, calling out the tournament organizers for their highly questionable decisions. Pegula took a firm stand to defend Alex Eala, who is undoubtedly one of the most thrilling young tennis talents to emerge in recent years. Hailing from the Philippines, this young woman has built an incredible journey that means the absolute world to her incredibly loyal fan base. To her home country and fans across Asia and beyond, she represents much more than just a tennis player by sparking a genuine cultural movement. She stands as a shining symbol of hope and excellence, proving exactly what relentless hard work and pure dedication can produce on the world stage. The global tennis community has rarely witnessed such an overwhelming fan response for any player at such an early stage of their professional career. Something truly remarkable unfolded at the Australian Open, when devoted fans traveled from the Philippines and all across the globe to show their unwavering support. Supporters flew in from different parts of Asia and every corner of the world, where Alex Eala has captured hearts just to watch her play. These were not casual spectators who stumbled upon a tennis match, but devoted and passionate supporters who booked expensive flights and arranged their own accommodations. They made significant personal sacrifices just to be in the exact same arena as their beloved hero, showcasing a truly extraordinary level of fan dedication. That massive kind of devoted fan base is something that most professional players spend an entire lifetime trying to build without ever succeeding. Facing this once-in-a-generation crowd energy, the organizers inexplicably placed Alex Eala on a remarkably small court, sparking sheer outrage from fellow players. Pegula was absolutely furious about the unacceptable situation, and honestly, nobody can blame her for stepping up and stating the obvious truth so very plainly. Alex Eala successfully brought thousands of passionate fans from all around the globe to the tournament, ready to cheer and witness a beautiful historic moment. Yet when these dedicated fans arrived to celebrate, the Tennis Association had completely failed to place this rising star on the biggest court available. Stop and think about that frustrating reality for a moment, where you have arguably the biggest crowd draw at the entire international sporting event. They inexplicably scheduled her on a tiny court that could not even accommodate the people who came specifically to watch her.
The fans that we're getting and making that still an enjoyable experience for them. But I did see some of the courts have like lines getting in and it seems really busy, and I saw some reports that it's some of the
reports indicated it was one of their busiest days, ever prompting Pegula to stop mincing words and boldly call the entire situation an act of blatant disrespect. She pointed out the obvious disrespect toward Alex Eala and her loyal fans, and she is absolutely right when you consider their incredible long-distance journey. Thinking about everything those traveling fans went through makes the organizing committee's poor logistical decisions feel even more outrageous and completely unacceptable to witness firsthand. Countless people were standing in endlessly long lines, waiting and hoping just for a slim chance to get inside and see their beloved Filipino star compete. Sadly, many of them could not even get inside because the assigned tennis courts were entirely too small, and the necessary seating capacity simply lacked. Dedicated fans who had traveled thousands of miles ended up watching from outside the stadium, desperately straining just to catch a tiny passing glimpse. Worse yet, many fans missed the match entirely because they simply could not get through the doors, which represents far more than a mere logistical failure. That deliberate choice made a profound statement, whether the organizers actually intended it to be perceived that way or not. The message echoing loudly and clearly to Alex Eala and her dedicated supporters was that she supposedly did not belong on the big stage yet. That dismissive attitude is not just fundamentally wrong, but it is deeply insulting, prompting Jessica Pegula to take her criticism even further. Pegula revealed inside information, stating this was widely considered the best crowd ever witnessed at the Australian Open, driven largely by Alex Eala. Despite drawing the absolute best crowd in the extensive history of the tournament, the player responsible for creating that electric energy was completely sidelined. Pegula directly and boldly questioned why Eala was continuously denied the opportunity to play her matches on significantly larger courts. The rising star desperately needed more space and a massive capacity worthy of the historic moment, yet the Tennis Association remains entirely silent. Going a step further, Pegula even hinted at something much deeper and far more troubling regarding the underlying motives of the organization. She bravely suggested that the tennis establishment might genuinely dislike the massive cultural shift they are currently witnessing from Alex Eala. Think about the heavy implications of a young woman single-handedly building a massive fan base that vibrantly stretches across the entire continent of Asia. She is actively bringing entirely new audiences to the sport while generating unprecedented excitement and massive viewership in historically difficult markets. Those incredible achievements should be loudly celebrated and widely amplified instead of being seemingly ignored or completely suppressed by the governing body. Pegula was certainly not standing alone in her bold defense, as Novak Djokovic also decided to heavily weigh in on the brewing controversy. As arguably the greatest tennis player of all time who has truly seen everything in the sport, Djokovic finally broke his silence. Djokovic openly praised Alex Eala by boldly declaring her the absolute greatest tennis player the Philippines has ever managed to produce. He firmly stated that she deserves all the respect in the world, while strongly agreeing that her poor scheduling caused significant, unnecessary difficulties. When a legendary champion like Novak Djokovic intentionally steps forward to make a statement like that, the entire international tennis world immediately listens.
Things like that happen. I mean, it's you could argue that it was, maybe a poor schedule and maybe they could schedule him on a bigger court. Yes, but again, she's so young and she's just coming through. I saw the other day with Alex Eala, that's been a talk, and which is understandable. There's some players coming from respective countries, like she's coming from Philippines, which is now a big deal. She's been the biggest ever, tennis player from that country, which is a big country, and there's a big interest.
Being such a massive country with deep national pride, there is naturally an incredibly huge and growing interest in her professional journey. Here is the truly concerning part of the story, because this is absolutely not a new pattern or an easily dismissed isolated incident. Nobody can accurately brush this off as a simple scheduling oversight if they have actually been paying close attention to her professional career. Watching Alex Eala's journey through the professional ranks reveals a deeply troubling history of experiencing this exact same kind of poor treatment before. There have been multiple documented moments where the established system seemingly worked against her in highly unusual ways that rarely happen to others. Take a close look at exactly what happened during the highly competitive qualifying rounds of the recent Australian Open tournament. Eala was locked in the middle of a critical rally when she hit a brilliant shot that was clearly inside the painted boundary lines. The ball was visibly in with a clear mark, left right on the court to prove it. But the call unbelievably came back out. That glaring mistake alone would have been intensely frustrating, but the tournament officials decided to make things even more complicated and highly unusual. Instead of simply awarding the obvious point to her opponent, they inexplicably ordered a complete replay of the point entirely out of nowhere. Anyone who follows professional tennis knows that is absolutely not standard procedure, because the ball is always either clearly in or completely out. You make a decisive call, and you firmly stand by it without simply replaying points, just because there happens to be uncertainty or loud controversy. But apparently, whenever it comes to Alex Eala, the firmly established rule book seemingly gets completely rewritten on the spot without any hesitation. Exactly what happened next tells you absolutely everything you need to know about who Alex Eala really is as a fierce and determined competitor. She adamantly refused to accept the highly questionable ruling quietly, and instead, she bravely marched right up to that elevated chair umpire. Looking the official dead in the eye, she remained entirely calm and composed, but absolutely firm when she stated that she knew exactly what they were doing. She made it crystal clear that she was not going to be easily pushed around by anyone within the powerful professional tennis establishment. Refusing to let questionable officiating shake her deep confidence or derail her intense focus, she bravely called out the blatant unfairness directly to their face. She clearly saw exactly what was happening, and she boldly named it out loud before marching right back out onto the court and winning anyway. Defying all the mounting odds, she successfully battled her way all the way to the impressive finals of the grueling Australian Open qualifying rounds. That is the exact definition of pure mental toughness, and the exact kind of resilient foundation that true international sporting champions are always built from. Then there was another highly unusual incident during her intense match against Iga Swiatek, who is a legendary multiple Grand Slam champion. Swiatek has been one of the most utterly dominant players on the women's tour in recent years, making this an incredibly massive match for the rising star. For any young player to even share the exact same court and compete alongside Swiatek is a monumental career accomplishment all by itself. Yet, right in the chaotic middle of that match, while Eala was powerfully building crucial momentum, an official inexplicably decided to suddenly confront her. They bizarrely interrogated her about random items inside her personal backpack, right in the middle of a highly sensitive and extremely important professional match. At such a pivotal moment, a completely unnecessary scene was made, disrupting her natural rhythm and raising serious questions about the highly suspicious timing. When you add all of this troubling evidence together, including the terrible court assignments and officiating controversies, a very dark picture clearly forms. That forming picture is absolutely not a flattering one for the Women's Tennis Association because it exposes a deeply flawed and unfair sporting system. What it strongly suggests is that one of the most highly exciting and universally beloved young players is deliberately not being given any proper respect or protection. Jessica Pegula clearly saw the glaring injustice, and Novak Djokovic loudly echoed the exact same sentiment, alongside millions of passionate fans around the globe. Alex Eala undeniably deserves much better treatment, and the incredibly loyal fans who flew across vast oceans certainly deserve a much better tournament experience. The beautiful sport of professional tennis deserves better leadership because Alex Eala is absolutely not going anywhere and will continuously keep building her historic legacy. It is time for the governing body to finally treat this phenomenon with true fairness. So drop your thoughts below on whether these legendary voices will finally force real changes.